we're back, and today we're going to tell you about what we're going to tell them about our top books of 2023. So grab yourself a cuppa. I've got my Sprout cup and some green tea, and let me tell you about my top books of 2023. Kinda in order, well, most definitely my top 3. So I'm working back, but I would say the 7 of the top 10 are in no particular order, really. One that I started reading at this... Oh, there's a truck driver outside. You're messing with my mojo, mate. Anyway, one of my first top ones are, I read start of last year. I highly recommend it for a winter read. So if you're looking for any creepy winter reads, this is it. It's Near the Bone by Christina Henry. It was actually my first Christina Henry, and it most definitely won't be my last. I loved it. It's basically about 2 characters, Matty and William, and they're in the mountains in the middle of nowhere in the snow, and Matty has to never make William upset. So you can get the gist of their relationship, but then she soon discovers that they're not the only ones on the mountain. So that's what you really need to know going in, as well as if you want a really intense ride from beginning to end, this is it. It pulled me in from page 1, grabbed me, swallowed me up, and didn't let me go till the very, very end. So it was so intense and a wicked winter read. So I'm all about Christina Henry in 2024, as well as a few other authors I definitely want to be reading. The next is The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. Honest to goodness, I don't think this gets shouted about enough, and it really should be. It was just beautiful. I mean, who knew a book could be so beautiful, poignant, with the main character being a fig tree? It's about 2 teenagers, a Greek Cypriot and a Turkish Cypriot, who meet in a taverna, and it's about their relationship is also whilst understanding the political and geographical oil between the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, which was something I didn't really know much of. It's a magical tale of love, loss, identity, division and belonging. Set in 3 different timelines, the 70s, the noughties and present day. It's about forbidden love, really, where you have a Turkish, Greek, Muslim, Christian couple who have so much going against them for a relationship. It's beautiful, but they're meeting within this taverna. In the middle of the taverna is this fig tree, and the fig tree is telling the story of their relationship throughout the decades. This man's really making a noise in my neighbourhood. I'm trying to shoot a YouTube video, guy. And I'm early days in my YouTube journey, and apparently audio's key. He's not listening. Anyway, I can't really do this story justice with my review. I know I can't. Just know that it is beautiful, it's poignant, and it gets you there. And if you can write a book where the fig tree is the main character, and I utterly adore it, I need to read more from this author. Next I read, and was one of my top reads, and actually I think, when did I read it? December. Got it from the library as soon as I'd heard about it, because I'd heard the author talk a lot about this book in podcasts. It's non-fiction. It's called Doppelganger, A Trip into the Mirror World by Naomi Klein. So Naomi Klein is known as a public intellect and celebrated activist. So over the last sort of number of years, when she started to be misidentified or what's the word? Mistaken. That's the word. Oh, she was mistaken for a completely other Naomi, a Naomi who had very controversial, toxic views of the world, and especially started to become inflamed during that big thing that happened the last few years where we all had to stay at home and things, and their views around that. And so she starts to go into this world of online identity and what online identity means, in a world where, you know, the wellness industry carries a lot of misinformation, and just how being misidentified but also having so much put onto your online persona or online brands. It is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm really struggling to put it into words because I remember reading it and like being in the depths of despair about what's happened to our world and the division and cancel culture and online hate and misinformation. But in the same instance, there is hope. I remember going through three quarters into this book thinking, dear God, there better be hope in this, or I'm going into 2024 full of sadness. Well, I didn't. So there's a little spoiler, as in, be prepared for when you read this, because I think you need to be in the headspace for it. The next one that I loved in 2023 was A Ladder to the Sky by John Boyne. I had never heard of this. I have heard of the author. I can't remember if it Heart of Furies. I'll put it here. So I hadn't read anything, I don't think, by this author, but it was my book group's pick in summer. So it's literary, contemporary, historical fiction. It feels a bit like it's got a mystery element to it, I would say. It's quite dark and it's in an LGBTQ plus characters. But while I went in totally blind, not knowing anything about it, which I kind of do with a lot of books, especially ones picked for book group if I've never heard of them. I like to go in blind. But I went in and it blew my mind. If you love books about the publishing world, books about authors, books about dark backstabbing, then read this book. This book is so vivid and immersive, and there was times where I like literal jaw drop. That doesn't happen often for me. I don't laugh often at books, I don't cry often at books, and to get me to go is unique. I love the exploration of the dark side of the literary world, so what people will do to achieve success and the lengths they would go to, and you see this in the main character. You almost love to detest him and what he's done to so many friends or loves. Also, it has a great commentary about the nature of stories and storytelling and the power they have to shape people's lives. I thought that was just really, really poignant. So for any fans of contemporary literary, albeit I would say it kind of goes through the years, so there is a bit of historical fiction in there, and likes dark, unearthing and queer characters who are amazing to read, then put this on your list for 2024. I'm loving this cup of tea. Also, apologies, because intermittently I get totally I sit in front of a window in this room and I just get totally distracted with like dogs. You saw Patty at the start, she's now napping down here and Lucy's in her crate. Next one is By Way of Sorrow by Robyn Gigl. I got this as an arc or a proof anyway from Verve Books for a book tour. I'd never heard of the author, but I love the idea of the premise. I'll read you the synopsis just now. Erin McCabe has been referred the biggest case of her career. 4 months ago, William E. Townsend Jr., son of a New Jersey state senator, was found fatally stabbed in a rundown motel near Atlantic City. Sharice Barnes, a 19-year-old transgender sex worker, is in custody, and given the evidence against her, there seems little doubt. Guilty verdict. Erin knows that defending Sharice will blow her own private life, yet as a trans woman, she feels uniquely qualified to help Sharice and duty-bound to protect her from the possibility of the death sentence. So that was the synopsis that grabbed me in. Firstly, it was a legal thriller, which I probably go to after all other types of thrillers, but the fact that it's written by a transgender author, it has 2 transgender main characters, was like, I need to read this, I need to read. And it was brilliantly done. One of the best courtroom scenes I've ever read. It was so gripping, it was so gripping. And it found it like, finally I'm starting to see in thrillers much more diversity than there has been before, and I absolutely applaud this. I have since read book 2, which I really enjoyed as well. This just edged it for me, and I would say this is Book 2 brings back the main character, who is the defence lawyer Erin. But I would definitely start with this one first. It was filled with my favourite things. Fast-paced, short chapters, plot twists and diversity. Pick it up in 2024. I'm leading into my top 5. Okay, and this is quite hard because I would say my number 2 and number 1 are definitely number 2 and number 1. And these are like, oh, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick. But, oh my God, why did I leave it so long to read Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent? I went in blind. Go in blind. Do not read any of the synopsis. Go in not knowing anything. And what you'll find is there's a couple of points of view, a couple of timelines, and a story that will have you going, WTF? Whoa! Did not see that happening. Also, I first and foremost don't know why I haven't heard of this author before. Like, not that I know all authors on the planet. It is, right, there's 3 words for me that describe this book. Wild and an emotional roller coaster. I kind of want to be that person who reads it again for the first time. So if you haven't read this yet, if you have it on your shelf, I had it on my shelf for ages. One of my friends gifted it to me. And why did I not pick it up straight away? Because I've got too many books and I buy books and I don't read them all straight away. And that's just how our life is when you're a bookie worm like us. So this is your sign. Read Strange Sally Diamond. As well as a lot of thrillers, horrors and literary fiction, I also love non-fiction, and I do love a memoir. And I'm not going to lie, when I first saw the ad, and I think it was on TikTok or maybe it was Instagram, for Paris, the memoir, so Paris Hilton's memoir, I actually thought it was a comedy. Like, I thought it was a joke. And I feel really bad for that, must confess. But I saw it and I was like, oh, right, yeah, that looks hilarious. Well, oh my God. I was never a mega Paris Hilton fan, didn't hate on her. I knew a bit of her from The Simple Life and from, back in the noughties of getting papped with Britney Spears and the likes, and Nicole Richie. But apart from that, it was like not really my kind of person, because I'm like the total opposite of a party girl. But wow, this was one of the best memoirs I read in 2023. Britney Spears was also really good, and I'm glad my mom died. Really, really good. Hard to cut it. But Paris, I think, nudged it because I did not expect it. I did not expect to be like, oh my God, I did not know this was you and this was what you experienced. Her story is heartbreaking, and the Paris Hilton that we see is so misunderstood. She plays a character and that is actually a real character. And I've gone down a rabbit hole of stuff ever since reading this. And wow, she is, despite the challenges she's gone through in life, she is so clever. And I'm in awe. Like, I've now gone from a meh to, oh my God, super fan, I will buy all your perfumes. It was just such an eye-opener. I also relived the whole 90s and 80s pop culture era, but as she talked about her life, harrowing, it's heartbreaking, it's torturous, nostalgic, and my whole view of Paris Hilton has changed. So if you're a Paris Hilton fan, you've probably read it or plan to, and if not, I challenge you to. And now for the final 3. I might have told you this already in my earlier video, which was my intro, which was like, hi, I'm Johanna, I'm a new booktuber. Here's me on booktube too. Feeling like I know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing in life. But anyway, back to my top 3 books of 2023. And the first up is Yellowface by RF Kuang. I'm going to say it again. It lived up to the hype. I love Kuang's writing. I've now read 2 books by her. Babel was the last one I read just before Christmas there. I didn't think it would be my genre, loved it, but that's not the one that reached the top 3. It was a close one actually. It should have got into my top 10. But toxic publishing world, cultural appropriation, societal commentary on our cancel culture, backstabbing, racism. Oh, it was all in there. It was all packed into a beautifully written, darkly satirical book, and I loved every page of it. So what is RF Kuang doing next? Because I am watching. Then the top 2 books of 2023. Number 2, it was a close one. My number 2 was The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, and I was gifted this by Titan Books because I emailed them and said, oh my god, this sounds amazing. Can I have a proof, please? And they were so kind and they gave me one, and oh my god, it is a chunk of a book, but it was worth every page, and I didn't want to end, and it didn't feel long. So I better give you the synopsis if you don't know what it's about. I'll actually read it for you, because sometimes when I try and do a synopsis, don't know if anyone else is the same, I easily forget. In one sentence from Goodreads. A gripping, page-turning novel set in the Jim Crow Florida that follows Robert Stevens Jr. as he's sent to a segregated reform school that is a chamber of terrors where he sees the horrors of racism, injustice for the living and the dead. So this is where the horror part comes in. So he's just a young boy who's been incarcerated in this reformatory, which is inspired by true events that the author's great uncle experienced, and the school is inspired by another school. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it here because I'll check, but when I'm editing. Robert is the main character, and then because of the level of horrors that are the kids who are at this school are exposed to, and that is the horror. It's almost like real life horror, but then there's the slight supernatural part where Robert starts to see the ghosts of the boys who were there before and hadn't survived the torturous experience. And that's where I would say the kind of horror, it's historical fiction horror a little bit, not a little bit, it is historical fiction horror with so much to tell, and it's utterly terrifyingly heartbreaking. I almost find that level of horror more terrifying because it's based on so much truth. Tananarive Due was a new author to me. I know she's not. Her writing is phenomenal, and this book blew me away. I think it's a good entry book. I say entry book not in a basic way, but I think it's a good book for people that want to read horror that is maybe not body gore or too... In saying that, check out the trigger warnings for this book because there are a few, but I think this is a good one to dip into that genre without it being like jump scare. It's just beautiful. Her writing is beautiful, and I still think about it, and I want to read more of this author's books. So I've got one, can't remember, so uncertain here, that I got for Christmas, which I'll be reading this year. If you know of any other Tananarive Due books that I need to read, let me know. If you read one book this year, make it this one. It's my top read of 2023. Is On the Savage Side by Tiffany McDaniel. All the chef kisses in the world, all the stars, if I could give it, is literary mystery thriller. And I'm going to give you the synopsis from Goodreads. 6 women, mothers, daughters, sisters, gone missing. When the first is found floating dead in the river, it reveals the disturbing truth of a small town in Ohio. Inspired by the unsolved murders of the Chillicothe Six, this harrowing and haunting novel tells the story of 2 sisters, both of whom could be the next victims. From the international best-selling author of Betty, which I just got myself before Christmas, before I went on a book buying ban, because I need to read more of this author. Like many of the other books, I went into this blind and probably recommend, other than that wee bit of synopsis, you go in like that too. I knew it had a lot of high praise, so I was holding out for a good time. First and foremost, McDaniel's writing is beautiful and utterly mesmerising. She created 2 of the most haunting characters, yet beautiful characters, Daffy and Ark, that will stay with me and have done since reading it. The other character that was Mama Milkweed, Daffy and Ark's grandmother. Oh, I wanted to spend more time with her. I wanted her to be my grandma. It's a harrowing, savage, pun intended, poetic, atmospheric story of the lives of two inseparable sisters, their family, missing women, and a sense of belonging. It's just all, it's just all packed in. It's just a story of deprivation, family bonds, abuse, and loss of innocence. It's just utterly compelling. This story sucked me in, tore my heart out, and had me hanging on every word. And this quote still sticks with me. In life, there is a savage side and a beautiful side. I wish I could even think like that. Never mind read like that. Beautiful. Just read it. If you're only going to pick up one book this year, make it that one. Utterly, utterly stunning. So that there was my top 10 of 2023. If you can hear a slurping noise, Lucy's decided she's quite thirsty, so she's having a wee drink of her bowl through there. I don't know if you'll see her. See her there? She also likes to not be missed when I'm recording a video, clearly. I've started to figure that out already and it's only video 2. If you've read any of these books, let me know. I'm going into 2024 hoping to read more from some of these authors. I mean, I don't think Paris Hilton will bring out another memoir. If so, I'll still be here for it. And if you like this video, please subscribe. Also, give me a wee note in the comments. Let me know what you thought of any of these books. If any of these books are your TBR, or if any of your top books of 2023 aren't on my list, let me know what they were so I can look at them in 2024. Have a good day. Bye!